Hi, everyone, and welcome to Thursday Activities. This week, we're actually bringing back a guest we had about a month and a half ago, Mike, who is super awesome and great with parents and teachers. He's a behavior specialist. Yeah, and so behavior is a huge, huge topic. I know that a lot of you guys have lots of questions about it. And today we're going to focus in on sharing, sharing at home, sharing at school, sharing in preschool, and all the super neat ideas that we can do as teachers and parents to get our kids to share more. So, Mike, I know you have some awesome things to share, and I know that you have an awesome background too. So you want to give us maybe a couple quick sentences about what you do?
Sure. Yeah, I here locally here in the Seattle area. I'm a behavior analyst, so I work with children, typically children on the autism spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm taking those basic principles around children and behavior and getting those strategies out there to parents of all children, not specifically autism. So that's what I do online. Do things like this. And engage parents in really simple things you can do to better your child's behavior.
And I know you're a dad, so of little kids, right? So you kind of are in the nitty gritty with us.
Yeah, I practice what I preach, definitely. So
yeah,
and I'm constantly working on it. And my kids are not perfect, but no kid is. Like, no kids are not robots. So I'm constantly having to help their behavior as well.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about sharing. And so you guys that are watching and that are popping in, you feel free to ask questions in the comment box, and we will get to those as we chit chat. Cool. So Mike,
yes,
tell us how to share.
Yeah. So I think one thing I thought would be cool to share real quick is just a visual here to help illustrate kind of my thinking when I'm helping children share. So let me click this real quick to share my screen, so we're all looking on the same space.
Perfect. I'll just enlarge that, and I'll pop in. There we go.
All right, cool. So you should see my screen, and oftentimes parents are thinking of themselves, and we think of ourselves as the boss of our household, of our children. I don't know. I mean, not maybe that word or other words. But here are some things, I'm just going to go through them quickly. Here are some things children hear often from their parents. They often hear, "No, thank you." So when a child like steals something from the sibling, "No, thank you." Or they hear, "How many times do I have to tell you? How many times do I have to tell you to share?" Or 1, give it back to him. 2, right? Do you want a spanking? Do you want a timeout? Do you want to go right now? So you can think like this is specifically about sharing, but this could be for many different things. We use this language, and we say also things like, "If you do that one more time, if you do that to your sister, if you do that to me one more time, bad things are going to happen." So what I do the flip side is, what if you heard those same exact things from your boss as an adult? If you heard your boss tell you, "How many times do I have to tell you? If you do that one more time," I would be like, "Oh my gosh, do not talk to me that way." Like, I would feel so embarrassed and kind of, feeling like, "Well, teach me a better way. You're my boss. You should train me how to do this program or do this worksheet or whatever it may be in the way that you want me to do." So that's like one of my foundational, like, how am I being a boss to my kids to help them actually learn a skill right now?
Right. Right. And behavior, and in the classroom, same thing. Like when we have a group of kids and we walk in and it's the first day of school, or we just got back from a vacation or a break, and all of a sudden you have 10 kids and one teacher, and you expect them to know how to sit. You expect them to know how to share. You expect them to know, how to get along without showing them or teaching them how to do it. So having a plan ahead of time and having some ways to ask questions, I think, is really important, because our expectations sometimes are not logical and not realistic. And we need to step back and get into our 3-year-old minds, our 4-year-old minds, Yeah. And so, yeah, I think that this is a great example. If people were talking to me that way, yeah, I wouldn't be very happy.
Yeah, you would be brought up to HR, right? You would be so again, just like, all right, we're gonna start talking more specifically here in a second about what to do in that situation when they're sharing. So, okay, Mike, you don't want me to say no, thank you. You don't want me to say how many times. What do I say instead?
Right.
So I just share the first three of these, but I think we talked about this last time. There are 5 functions of human behavior, 5 purposes. There's really simple stuff that many parents don't know about. So the first 3 are like the most common. Those are the 3 I'll share. Kids do things for attention. They do things to escape, to get out of something, and they do things to get an item, to get a teddy bear, to get a candy bar, to get the toy that their sister or brother has that they don't care about, 5 minutes ago, but now they want that thing.
Right.
And so there's appropriate ways to get those things, and there's inappropriate, crazy, weird ways to get those things.
And I think you bring up a good point, is that sharing isn't just sharing a physical item. Sharing is also sharing attention. And I think that is huge if we look at both of those, because attention getting behavior is big, even as a teacher in the classroom, even as a parent at home. If it's with another kid, or maybe it's with your phone or the dishes or paying bills, or there's something else, and you are sharing attention with whatever you're doing and this child, even in the classroom. So so that's really good to bring up, that there's behavior for everything.
And like you said about sharing attention, you can teach children to kind of analyze another child's behavior. Like, hey, what do you think right now? Is he trying to get the toy from you, or is he trying to get attention from you by doing that, by picking at you? What do you think? I think he's trying to get your attention. So you can give it to him. You could give it to him, and he's probably going to continue doing that behavior.
Right.
Or maybe we could try trying this instead. We could try ignore it and try to teach him a better way to get that toy from you. So it's really fun to help children see their peers differently as well.
Right.
Cool. So the biggest thing I would teach parents in this situation, or teachers, kind of got cut off, but just teach them a more appropriate way to get what they want. So they want a toy, they want attention, they want to get out of something. Teach them how to get what they want in an appropriate way. So like, that's what siblings do. They go over it and just grab something, or the iPad, going back and forth. So if we go over and stop them and just be like, hey, no, you give it back to him right now, you share that, share. They cannot replicate that the next time that they're fighting over the iPad. They don't know what to do. So you teach them literally what to do when they have an item. So I give them, like, I pretty much tell them 2 or 3 things. Like, tell them you can have it when I'm done. Or 1 more minute. 1 more minute is a huge one. Kids pick that up so quick. 1 more minute. And then after 1 minute, hey, 1 minute's up. They give it up, and it's awesome to watch. So now they have a tool to use the next time they're confronted with someone taking their iPad or book or whatever. 1 more minute. All right. So now they have something that they can use, instead of mommy told me to share, I need to give this up.
Exactly.
Cool.
And with those, just like for little kids, when we're talking about visual and auditory cues are huge for these. So in the preschool classroom, if you say 1 minute, to put a timer on for 1 minute, and then when the timer goes off, the kids know it's time to get off, and be really consistent with that, because I think that time is so abstract, especially for little kids, that Johnny is going to ask you, has it been a minute yet? Has it been a minute yet? Is it a minute yet? Is it been a minute yet? And you could just train them to wait for the buzzer. And then the other thing I've done in preschool is make a I'm next list. And if there's a hot item like a bike or a red ball or something, have the children write their names, or you write their names under that object. Who's next? So when Johnny's done on the bike, oh, who's next?
Yep.
Sally's next. Okay, when Sally's done, Bobby's next. Okay, and the kids learn on their own to take turns that way. So I think when we're teaching kids sharing like that with time, that's really important to put those visual things and those auditory cues in there.
Yeah, I like
that. We have like 10 kids in the classroom. They're always.
I love the delayed gratification of that, and I also like teaching that kid that's waiting. It's like a Daniel Tiger episode, I think. I can't remember the exact wording, but it's like when you're waiting, you find something else to do. Like instead of counting down and 10, I'm waiting. Like that's not what you should do.
Right.
It's gonna go really fast when you do, and then we can praise them for doing that. Like, hey, wow, you're doing so awesome. If they're waiting around and like hovering over that person, I'm going, all right, let's give that person one more extra minute because we need to give them space. So there might be a consequence.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So it focuses on their positive behavior. So rather than saying, no, thank you, share, hey, you two, cut it out. Right? I'm going to teach them that one more minute, or asking politely, or can I have it when you're done? All those things. And when they say it, it's like, yes, that's a more effective and efficient way.
Right.
To get that outcome, that function, that purpose of your behavior.
Right.
Cool. So once the child uses that skill, you want to give that, I say here, behavior specific praise. So you want to tell them exactly what you liked about their ability to share. I love how you waited. You went over and found something all by yourself.
Right?
So you're training them to know what to do. Because if we just say, good job, awesome.
Right.
How do they replicate that the next time?
Right. You need to be very specific, especially for little. If you have a 2-year-old, 2-year-olds need to hear those words specifically because they're not really generalizing yet. So you have to know where your kids are developmentally too. In language is to be how broad you can actually be. Yeah. So for our little ones, being very specific on what they are doing right will help them remember to do right next time. So yeah, I think that's really important because the more specific we are, the more kids are going to learn.
Yeah, and it reminds me of a really quick story. I mean, I tell parents this too, is like, you cannot remember a single time anybody ever told you good job or awesome, like ever. But you can remember specific things from your childhood that someone told you. Like, I remember in 7th grade, my 7th grade teacher told me she liked that I sat in the front row. She liked that I kept my eyes on her because I was very distracted. But because I did that, I remember that until grad school.
Right.
I need to do that because that one teacher gave me that specific praise.
Right.
So think about that with your children to help them replicate their behavior. Cool. Well, I'm going to stop the share because that's all I wanted to hit on that page.
Okay.
But that was,
Yeah, that's great. So tell us some more about sharing. Like, are there specific things we can do with a 2, 3, or 4-year-old to support sharing? Like, what can we do to set them up to be able to share without having to do some of those consequences? You know what I mean? Like, if we wanted to set up a classroom environment or a home environment that encourages sharing from the start,
right?
What things will we need in there?
Yeah. So the biggest one I think to teach children at the beginning is just to ask for a turn, just to say my turn. And when someone asks for a turn, you need to respond to them. You can tell them one more minute, or you can tell them, okay, here you go. When children ask appropriately for my turn, there should be some sort of response from the person they're asking.
Right.
So that's like number one. That's the first thing you should teach that's like one of the first skills you should teach your children. I teach my 1-year-old that with sign language. It's like, I have something. It's very, very motivating for them, right? and I'm gonna wait until they say my turn, and I'm gonna help them. I'm gonna prompt them, and
Mhm.
here you go. All right, okay, my turn. And then after I give, so we're practicing her giving it up
Right.
and asking for a turn, and
Right.
we're gonna make that duration. So now she asks for a turn. Again, it's like 1-year-old, 2-year-old. She asks for a turn. I'm gonna say, all right, just wait a minute. So now I'm going to make her her skill even more developed. Now she has to wait for her item. She doesn't get immediately after she gets it. So it's
Right.
building skill upon skill upon skill, so that in however many months time, now she can like, hey, my turn. Oh wait, okay, cool, no problem. I'll go over here and play.
Right.
Build up this skill.
So this is a skill you can teach even as an infant, I mean, that's a really good thing to know, because a lot of moms are asking, I have a child, I'm going to have a new baby. And I always tell them there's this milestone or this regression right when the baby's born, because they're sharing attention. But then just wait till that baby's crawling or walking and going towards those toys that your child has, right? There's a whole nother process of
That's right.
transitions. Yeah. And that's exactly what you can start with the baby, even not just making your older child share, but helping the baby understand that.
Right.
Also.
Yeah. And another thing I think about with this is to focus on, as much as possible, focus on the appropriate side of behavior scale. So it's like, I'm going to focus all my attention on when they are sharing, and when they're giving up a toy, when they're asking for something nicely. It's like, yes, oh yeah, here you go, oh, this is awesome. When they're not sharing, I'm going to, again, like I showed you the slide, I'm going to teach them a better way to hold on to the item, a better way to share it, a better way to wiggle around that situation, so that they get what they want, but they have to do it appropriately.
Right.
So yeah, it's all about focus on what you want to see more of.
There's a couple people on right now. If you guys have questions about sharing, pop them in the comment box and we will try to answer them. Otherwise, we'll keep talking until questions start coming in.
I remember a funny story when my daughter was maybe 1.5 years. You ever had boba tea? With the
No. So is it so good?
So good. So it's very sweet, right? So little kids are going to love it, mostly. So we went for a walk and we got this boba tea. And so we're like, no, she can drink some. So she started drinking some, and she's like, I want this. Oh man, I want this. So she starts really holding on to it. And this is where we're going to start practicing. My turn.
Yeah.
So, at the beginning of the walk, it's like crying, like, no, like asking for it. No, come on. But this whole entire 10, 20-minute walk, we continue practicing this skill. By the time we get home, now she's just like, my turn. Like asking appropriately, because we just showed her it's going to be much more efficient way of getting the tea. Like screaming and grabbing and things is not working as effectively. So it's all about showing your kid this is the least the most efficient route to get what you want.
Yeah. And I mean, part of that is consistency, right? You're talking about that whole 20-minute walk. You're saying that same thing over and over and over. And you sound like a broken record, but you know what? That's what kids need at this age. They need to know that you're going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
And your response is going to be the same.
Yeah. And I was not getting frustrated, because I knew I'm their boss right now. I need to be very calm. I need to repeat. I need to show them. And when she does do it, I get to praise her and say, yeah, here you go. Oh, nice. So now, whoa, daddy's excited. What did I get something and I get the drink? Okay.
Right. And when I was working in preschool, I remember, so I was a student teacher for a while at in a 2-year-old classroom, right? That's like the big classroom where sharing starts, right? At the local college campus. And I was in for about 3 years in that classroom. And the lead teacher kept telling me, rephrase it, whatever you want those kids to do, phrase it telling them what to do instead of what not to do. And that was the magic potion, right? It was walk, please. Put your hands on your plate. Put the diaper in the garbage. Instead of tell them what to do instead of what not to do. And young kids will actually do it because it's not something they have to decipher. It's not a code they have to figure out. They're actually hearing exactly what you want them to do, and it's easy. So you can do that same thing with sharing, with my turn, or wait a minute, or wait till the buzzer, or something like that, where you're actually telling them exactly what's happening next.
Exactly.
So yeah. So I think that's huge.
And I love that every single example you just gave, you didn't ask them, can you put this in the trash?
Right.
Can you do this? You don't need to ask them. You can just tell them directly what you want them to do.
I have had parents say, why do they keep saying no to me all the time? It's like, well, are you asking them a question? And they're like, oh, and if after they track it for a bit, they're like, oh. It's like, well, you gave them a choice, right?
Don't ask them. Yeah. And one thing we did share last time is to give them two choices. So if there is ever that battle between the two kids, you're going to go over, I'm going to focus on one kid at a time. I'm going to help them develop a skill. And so you can throw in there two choices. Do you want 2 more minutes or 3 more minutes with this? What do you think? All right, 3 more minutes. All right, cool. You cool with 3 more minutes, or you want to find something to do? All right, let's go find something to do. I'll let you guys know when 3 minutes is up. And sometimes kids, they play with 10 more seconds and they're like, I'm done. Here you go.
Yeah, they do it on their own. So before we finish, I want to ask you about the attention and sharing attention. Since you have a few little ones of your own, do you have any tips on how you share the attention between your kids that
allows them to feel like they are getting my attention, right?
Right. Like if they're vying for your attention, but you're doing something with one child, how are you responding to the other one? Are you setting a time on it, or are you saying when I'm done, I'll come to you, or what's the effective way?
There could be that delayed gratification. There could be that that skill that they're building. Sometimes if they're doing it in inappropriate ways of like being annoying to get my attention, I'm gonna label it right there. I'm gonna be like, dude, you're trying to get my attention, but I'm gonna hang out with your sister. When I'm done, I'll come find you. Where are you gonna be? Upstairs? Cool. Right. I'll come find you in about 10 minutes. So I'm kind of giving them some expectations, and then labeling their behavior if it's inappropriate. If they're asking nicely for my attention, I'll try to give it as much as possible. One thing I rarely ever have my phone out around my children, because one thing, if you do have your phone out around your children and you look up, hey, you two share, put that down, right? They're going to see us as they'll know they don't have our full attention. They're our undivided attention.
Yeah.
And they're going to see us only stepping in when there's inappropriate behavior.
Right.
So they're going to do more of those behaviors, and they know dad's going to jump in and fix it for us, and then he's going to go back to his phone. Whereas I'm going to step in all the time because they might be been playing for the last 10 minutes very nicely. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, for 1 second, I'm going to jump in. No, I'm going to play really nicely with them for 10 minutes and help them through that situation where it's challenging. And doesn't mean I'm going to play with them all the time. Sorry.
Right. But what about if you're, say you have a 2-year-old and you have a baby and you're changing the baby's diaper, and your 2-year-old's mom, and you're saying, wait a minute, changing the diaper, and then you get the cars thrown at you, or the right, you get. So if you have little ones like that and you need them to wait, what was your response to that?
Yeah, I'm going to try to find ways to engage them that just singing songs with them, hanging out, talking, asking them simple questions, playing, hide and seek type stuff. So
Yeah.
they don't even realize that I'm doing something else. They still see me as engaging with them. So, if I'm on the phone, that's a big one, right? Where parents are on the phone and the kids, that's like that's like their
Right.
trigger to get mom's attention. Um, so that means I need to practice. I need to practice being on a fake phone
Mm-hmm.
with my children. And that's a skill they need to learn, that when I'm on the phone, here's the 5 things that they can do. They can do puzzle, book, grab their coloring, right? So we're
Yeah.
gonna practice that outside, because now if they never get a chance to practice, I'm like, seriously, I'm on the phone. Stop.
Yeah.
So that's one.
And I've helped a couple parents in the past make a special phone basket. 2 or 3 toys that stay in that basket that are super fun.
Cool.
That if you're on the phone, that basket comes down, and all of a sudden your kids are engaged for 10 or 20 minutes and gives you that. I mean, it's not a full hour, but it gives you, 20 minutes to do on the phone. So, so if anybody has questions, let us know. There's been people popping in and out this whole time. So, but I know you're starting. Have you started your membership, or is this something you're just for your core? I know you have a course.
Yeah. So
something else?
Yeah, I have an online course where it lays out all this stuff in a very systematic approach of kind of allowing you to have a framework of how you should interact and react to children, right? So what I've been doing recently is doing more one-on-one helping parents. So it's very specific to your situation, very specific to your challenges. We can dive really deep. So it's so cool to talk to parents, and they just lay it all on me, and we make a plan for them. Like, all right, here's exactly what we're going to do at bedtime. Here's exactly what we're going to do at mealtime. And we check in a week later. What changed?
Yeah.
What did you do? What was the reaction? What was the consequence? Right. So it's so cool to see progress being made and relationships transforming by just doing simple little things.
Yeah, the parent and child relationship is a very complicated one, for sure. And so when parents know what to do, that helps support the relationship now and as they grow. And Sarah actually just popped in. She said her daughter literally wants the toy my younger daughter grabs every time. I try and redirect, but a lot of tantrums. Any suggestions?
Yeah. So that sounds like practice. I'm not sure how old the child is. But
Sarah, how old are your kids? If you can give us that.
I would think about 2, having a good conversation with her afterward that evening, and really laying it out for her of, look, when your sister gets something, here's the 2 things you can do. If you really want that toy, you can go ask for it nicely, or you can let her know, can I have it when you're done?
And she says that they're 3 and 2.
Perfect. Yeah.
You're on the 2. Yeah.
Perfect age to learn those 2 skills. So being able to ask for something when someone's done, asking for a turn, and again, sounds like you just need to be more. I would be more on top of it, of like, this happens every single time. So I'm going to be my proximity is going to be close, so I can help teach that quick behavior. Just like we talked about on the screen, you want to teach the appropriate way to get that item, but also you can help kind of have an ongoing conversation and a practice session. All right, here we go. Who's going to be the kid? Wants to be the adult? All right, here, try it. Let's try it in a weird, crazy way. Try to go get that toy.
Right.
All right, now let's try it the right way.
So that practice. And also a 3-year-old, back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier with those auditory cues, those hearing reminders, to set those timers every time so that there is a specific thing she's waiting for to know it's going to be her turn. And we could talk about later, Sarah, but I talk about sharing. I have a bunch of different things we could do with sharing baskets and stuff if you have kids close in age. Chelsea says example of the right behavior. Oh, she wants an example of what the right behavior would be for sharing.
Yeah. So when someone wants something that I have, I don't want to give it up. I can tell them I'll give it to you when I'm done. I can tell them 1 more minute. Those are all very, very appropriate. I can also just give it to them if they asked appropriately. If your child goes over and says, give me that,
right.
You should teach both children, hey, don't give it to him until he asks nicely.
Right.
And then the child asks nicely, all right, do you want to give it to him now, or do you want to wait a little bit? Now we can give him more, like it's just constantly giving more skills so that they can do it when we're not around.
And I think it's important what you're talking about with just because the sibling asked for it doesn't mean that you need to give it now. It means, great, thanks for asking. I'll give it to you when I'm done, in 5 minutes, or it doesn't have to be the baby asks for it so you automatically get it. And that's where a lot of that sibling rivalry starts is, well, she's asking for it nicely, so you must give it to her now.
Yeah.
And giving them that control over, I will give it to you in this many minutes, helps bridge that gap.
Yeah. When a child's learning a brand new skill, it should be immediate. When they say, please, boom, here you go. You got it. Thanks for saying please.
Right.
But as we build upon that skill, then we can make the duration. So when a younger child is asking the older child or vice versa, and they're saying, please, can I have that? And we can jump in and be like, hey, did you hear how nicely?
Yeah.
You can give it to him now, or you could wait, but that was really good. Would you rather want her saying please or screaming? It's up to you. Which would you rather? And so they're like, please, okay, you can give it to him now. So helping them, again, analyze each other's behavior.
And I think part of that, when you were saying practicing, helps. So you can get that instant gratification too if you're playing a game back and forth with that sharing. Please, can I have it? Please, can I have it? So as when things happen in real time, you are able to wait a little bit longer and a little bit longer.
That's right.
Because you have had that practice and they do know what to do. So I think that's, and you can even do that in preschool. If you're having a circle time game, if you're noticing the kids are having a hard time sharing, you can practice with puppets. You can practice with the kids. You can practice in small group. There's so many things. Don't overestimate the value of practicing behavior components and social skills during lesson time, because that is the foundation to everything else. And Mike knows that. And we know that, but we need to master our behavior and our social skills before we can start adding in all these other skills. Because if you can't share the box of crayons in kindergarten, well, it's going to be a little bit problematic. So
that's right.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, Mike.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. Again.
Yeah. So I'm going to share the link to your website at starfishparenting.com, right?
Yep.
Okay. And they can find your one-on-one coaching on there?
Yes. And they can also just email me. Maybe we could put that on there too, mike@starfishparenting.com.
Okay.
And I can get them more information through there too.
Perfect. All right. Well, if you want to hop in the next couple days, if anyone who's watching the replay on this has more questions,
sounds great.
Comment below and we'll be back in helping and trying to give you guys some good directions and next steps for your questions. So thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good day, everybody.
Okay, bye.